To me, this just absolutely kills and demolishes Obsidian. I mean, it demolishes Obsidian at such an astronomical level that, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be going back, which is heartbreaking for me because it was such a beautiful tool and I spent hundreds of hours like making it just amazing. I even built a crazy Python script that I would just send a text to myself and that Python script just runs and automatically takes my iMessages, syncs them up with my Obsidian. I got it really souped up, but still, because of this one killer app, I had to kind of say goodbye to Obsidian. I bring you big news. I have used almost every tool out there under the sun for personal knowledge management and note-taking. From Logsec to Obsidian to Roam Research to Notion to Craft, Evernote, Apple Notes, everything. And I've been looking for a way to build a second brain. A second brain essentially, just in case you don't know, is a method of storing information that you could retrieve at any point later. It could help you with your creative output. It could help you solve problems. And Ali Abdal and Tiago Forte talk about second brains all the time and how helpful it is for them. And so when I saw them, I thought, man, I need to make a second brain of my own that is absolutely incredible. So before I go and show you this absolutely killer tool and why it's killer, I have to give you a little bit of context before we actually jump into it, okay? Or if you're just like, don't want to watch this part, just skip to that. I've used Obsidian pretty heavily. My Obsidian setup is all souped up. I'm a huge nerd when it comes to all this stuff. So if you go to my Obsidian, it is jacked. I mean, it's like, I got Omni Search, I got Advanced Slides, I got, you know, all the key plugins that you need to be able to go into full screen mode, to be able to go data view and sort things by time and dates and, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff. The graph view is something I use all the time. And it's been very helpful for me to be able to put my information, synthesize, sense make out of my notes, and to deeply reflect and take a look at what I'm doing. And then I also would use Obsidian Canvas quite a bit to be able to visualize my thoughts out there. And I would use Excalibur, which is a plugin that you can get inside of Obsidian that allows you to kind of draw, and it writes in handwriting, which is really awesome, and I love that. But mainly, Obsidian was a place where I could take notes and I could look at the thread of those notes and then visualize. So, you know, and it started off, the reason why the whole thing started off was because I was just so frustrated with the fact that all of my books that I have read would just die in Kindle. Because, like, who's going to go into Kindle? And then if you want to remember a quote, you have to like go to that specific book. Well, most of the times I don't even remember what book I read the quote from. I often just know what it was about. And I often just know that. I don't know the author's name. I don't remember anything else. And so, like, did I read that in Profit First? Or did I read the book? Did I read that from a book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon? Like, I don't know. And so first, I have to remember that. Then in Kindle, you got to go to that actual Kindle. You got to go to your highlights and then go within the book and then look at I mean, it's crazy, right? Nobody's going to do that. I don't do that, certainly. And so first, it just started off with if I highlight books and I take notes in these books, how can I just get it out of the freaking book? So I came across Readwise, which allows you to take your information and put it elsewhere, and it syncs to Kindle, and then it takes it from Kindle and puts it other places. So I thought, okay, that's beautiful. That's awesome. And then Readwise, you could essentially connect it to whatever you want. And so I tried Reflect. I wanted to get an app that note-taked that allowed you to do backlinking. Okay, backlinking is this concept that allows you to create networked thoughts. And to make it less nerdy, it's like each of your thoughts connects to the other. And so if you have a lot of thoughts about one thing, you'll have this graph that you'll be able to see, and they'll point to each other. And most tools, most notes don't have that. Like, for example, Apple Notes does not have the ability to backlink. And so if you had a note in there that talked about your team expenses, which I often look at, or my expenses in general, and I wanted to make a new note, I can't refer to that previous note that I've made. It's like I have to start from scratch again, or I have to go find that. And it doesn't really understand those things. Or if I say, like, if my girlfriend had some things that she likes, you know, and I maybe wrote that across 10 or 15 different notes, I can't just click in one place and all of the things that she loves come in one place. And so those were a lot of my problems with Apple Notes and stuff like that. Even though I like the ability to be able to capture things quick, I didn't like that all my knowledge and all my note taking wasn't turning into a valuable intellectual property. It wasn't turning into a valuable asset. And as somebody who makes a living out of intellectual property by speaking, capturing thoughts, sharing it with an audience, I realized that my biggest ROI comes from a tool that allows me to capture notes, synthesize them, distill them, express them. It's my living. And for a lot of us, we're knowledge workers. Most jobs are now knowledge workers. If you work at a bank, wherever you work, you're a software developer. All of these are knowledge heavy jobs. Even if you're trying to become a doctor or whatever, trying to go into IT, all of these are knowledge based jobs. So I thought, okay, I need something that does network thinking. So I knew that Apple Notes and Google Keep this and that, and Evernote, those weren't the tools that I was going to go with. I knew that for a fact because I needed something that was really smart and could have relevant searches and connect thoughts back to each other. So I knew it was those were all in my brain kind of out. Well, then I fell down the rabbit hole of, all these tools like Obsidian and Logsec and Remnotes and Rome Research, all that stuff. I tried Reflect as another new one. So I tried Reflect, but it was, their graph just kind of sucked. And it's kind of way too basic, even though they made it beautiful, but it's not as fast. It's kind of way too basic. And so I got rid of that. And then I tried Rome Research. That is just hideous and it's too slow. So I'm just okay, no to Rome Research. Because I need it to be user-friendly, have a good experience, and still be able to do all the advanced stuff that they allow you to do. Logsec, I forget why I didn't like it, but there was some reason. But I decided not to go with that either. And then Obsidian was the one that I actually stuck with because Obsidian had pretty much everything you could want in an app. And then it was kind of like this 1980s Mustang that you could just soup up and take it from 200 horsepower to 1,000 horsepower, and you could just make it jacked. And so, for example, once I added my data views, my background as a programmer, so I could write my queries and I could, have I could have all my employees and I could have cards for each of them, and then I could put their salaries in there, and then I could write one query that could search across all my contractors or employees, total up their salary and show it as a table, and then also spit out the final result. And then anytime I had to fire somebody from the team or they weren't, I would just go change their status to inactive, or I would just go change their salary if I had, if their salary had moved up or gone down. And then I would come back and my data view query, query that I wrote, would be automatically updated. So I thought that was pretty awesome because I could reference things from different notes, and this program, I could programmatically show all that data in a new note without having to always go and find that note and refer back to it. So I thought that was really, really cool, and it could dynamically do that. And so it, for me, combined the benefits of a spreadsheet, because I would often have to go to spreadsheet to do all my calculations, and then I would have to go to my notes to do my thinking, and I would never remember where I kept something. I'm like, was it an Excel sheet? Was it in a note? Was it in a text message I sent to somebody? Was it in Apple Notes? And I would not be able to retrieve the information. So I would just keep redoing the same work again and again and again, hundreds of times. And I thought, all of this is stupid. We need to have this in one place. And so in Obsidian, it was nice because I could keep things in one place. Oftentimes people are like, it looks overwhelming and stuff. Well, with a few plugins, you could make it look like Notion, essentially. I even have it where I can put a cover in the back or an icon for my thing. And so my Obsidian looks very beautiful and looks very simple. And so that was good. And I got pretty good at the whole Obsidian thing. I had tons of notes in there. Now, then I researched a lot of different tools. And here's a tool that I found that ended up showing promise at the start. And then ultimately, I actually think ended up being better than even Obsidian. That to me sounds crazy. To even say that sounds crazy. But I'll show you why. And to me, this just absolutely kills and demolishes Obsidian. I mean, it demolishes Obsidian at such an astronomical level that, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be going back, which is heartbreaking for me because it was such a beautiful tool and I spent hundreds of hours like making it just amazing. I had to kind of say goodbye to Obsidian. And this one killer app, it's called MEM.ai. If you've looked it up, you'll probably be like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That thing is garbage. Compared to Obsidian, right? You might think that. Or if you have never looked it up, you might be like, what is this thing? And before you go and do your own research and look into this, here's what's going to happen. Like, this is what happened with me. I downloaded MEM, and then I saw some tutorials and saw some people talking about it. And I'm like, this is kind of like whack. I mean, it just looks like a normal, like even if I show you the interface right now, right? It looks like kind of a normal app. Nothing looks that crazy impressive about it. Like, what are people tripping about? What's so crazy about it? And honestly, even when I looked up online, even their own guides are, in my opinion, quite bad, like quite terrible. Like, none of them actually list out the key benefit of this app, like the number one biggest benefit, which I'm going to talk about, which that benefit alone takes over everything. Like yeah, that benefit alone is worth so much. It's crazy. So let me show you a little bit. So I'm inside of MEM and I'll show you the basic stuff first, some of the cool stuff first, some of the cute stuff, some of the stuff that just, is normal stuff / maybe they do it a little bit better. I'll show you that first. And then I'll show you like the actual thing that makes it killer. Okay, so I'll share that with you like a little bit later. Let me just kind of show you some of the basic stuff that it could do. So if I come in here and I start writing, first of all, I really love the simplicity of their UI UX. So I start writing, okay, I am working on a YouTube video. And as you notice, right, as soon as I started writing, everything vanished. I love that. I love being in a focused mode. I hate writing. Like if I show you my Obsidian, right? If I show you my Obsidian, right, you can see my Obsidian is clean. It's very, very clean. And usually I'll even hide this part. I'll even hide that like that. And that's how I'll be writing in my Obsidian. That's how my Obsidian looks, right? And if I go to my graph view, you could see my Obsidian is crazy. So I'm not just like a light user of Obsidian, right? I use it a lot. If I want to take a look at my notes for a book, I just type in rework and then I go in and I'm like, okay, here are all my notes for that book, rework, and you can see them. And so all of that stuff I love in Obsidian, don't get me wrong. But let me show you MEM now. Okay. So first of all, I liked that as soon as I start writing, it goes in focus mode and everything vanishes. And as soon as I hover, it knows that I'm trying to look at my thoughts on the right-hand side or something else. And so it just brings them up, which is awesome for context. So that is some simple stuff, right? Other stuff you could do is if I'm talking about Amanath in this, so I could be like, Amanath is working on short form content, our team. And so I can mention him. And then the cool thing is it will show him on the right-hand side. So now I can see Amanath here and everything kind of related to Amanath we could see here on the right-hand side. If I get out of there, at the top it says share now. So this allows you to share and collaborate, which is a huge plus because in Obsidian, that was kind of a nightmare that I couldn't collaborate with people and everything was just, yeah, it's local and that's cool, but besides nerds on Reddit, I mean, who really cares, right? Like, I don't really care. Oh, it's local, so it's safer. Like, what are you doing? Are you a criminal? Do you have something to hide? If you don't have anything to hide, then what the fuck are you talking about? Ooh, shut up. Like, I don't know what these guys are talking about, but, the main thing is, like, everything is stored on the cloud, so everything syncs well, right? With Obsidian, that I had to like figure out Obsidian sync. We have to figure out some kind of solution to make the sync work. Then images kind of suck in Obsidian. So if I post an image here, the image is like not going to show up on your phone because it's all local. And so this will not do that. If you have an image, you could have it in one place. You could see it everywhere, right? So boom. Anyways, Any concept that I want to reference, I could reference. So like if I have a Mr. Beast quote that I want to reference, I can reference that note. And then if I click it here, that note will open up on this side, and I can take that quote and I can put it in here, right? Figure out how to get to 70% retention on YouTube. That should be your only focus. Okay, so this is so far kind of the basic stuff. I can tag concepts, and then it can open up those concepts, and it can tell me things that are similar to this. So anything that kind of mentions YouTube or talks about YouTube and stuff, it'll show it here, which is very nice. And so that's key stuff. If I want to share this with the team, it's as easy as I just hit Clever Programmer Team, and they'll share it with my team. Or if I want to share it with some specific person, it's even giving me a suggestion here. I can hit share, and it'll share it with Amanat, right? As you can see, boom, it did it. And I can also revoke access if I wanted to. Boom. Okay. So very easy to share stuff. Now, if I want to search stuff, so one of the things that I would do is, write down what are the deliverables that I've talked about with my team members. So I'll say something like, I'll text myself something like this. I'll say, Frankie says he will produce 20 shorts this month. And you could see it automatically tagged Frankie. I didn't have to put @ symbol. I didn't have to put, Obsidian style double bracketed. I don't have to do the work. It does the work for me. And so that was a big key thing that was like, it can organize for me, and it can think for me, and it can show me relevant stuff without me having to really do anything. And when I think about that over a period of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, that's huge, because right now, I'm excited about Obsidian. So I'll do all the nerdy stuff. I'll double bracket everything, and, I'll put everything correctly. I'll make my links properly, in Markdown. But honestly, in the long run, will I really do that? Probably not. And I'll just go back to using something that's just simple to use. And even their mobile app seems very complicated and daunting. And so here, just everything is super easy, right? Automatically detected that I'm talking about a person, and I say says he will produce 20 shorts this month. And usually what I would do is I would hashtag it with deliverables. And so if I want to see, hey, what are the team's deliverables? So I can just ask it. I could go deliverables and hit enter, and boom, it'll just show all the deliverables that I talked about. So the search functionality is really very nice. I mean, that's another key thing that it in my opinion, is way better than Obsidian, because their search is kind of trash. Like, compare this search to this search here. Like, if I just type in even not case sensitive, it doesn't even find anything about Bedros. And it's like, oh, you mentioned him only in one spot. And even how I had to get here is so ugly, right? I had to open up my tab on the left-hand side. I had to go Command-Shift-F, and then it starts the search process. And then I can't really see much here, right? And then if I go capital B, then it's like, oh, well, why didn't you say capital B? Because, you've mentioned Bedros a lot. And it's like, why is it such an aggressive search? And really, do you honestly do all these things when you're searching? Like, when was the last time you used path or tag or file name? Even when you're searching your Google emails, you don't do that. You just search with words, most people do. And nobody really uses that stuff. So their search is kind of trash in that sense. And their other searches like this, which is good for finding file path names, but it can't search for content inside of that file, which is annoying. And so, I got OmniSearch. I know some nerd will be like, but you haven't tried OmniSearch. You could try OmniSearch. I'm aware of OmniSearch. It's okay. It still doesn't give you and make it as relevant as this when I hit enter and I get this, right? Like, for example, I could even say mems with YouTube links, or let's just write mems. And I could ask it with YouTube links, right? And boom, it'll just give me all the key stuff that has YouTube links. And so that's pretty cool. You can't necessarily do it, and it seems like it's all native, right? And so it can do that for you. And so that I find very, very valuable to be able to do in one place. Okay, so that is pretty cool. Now, another functionality that comes pretty much out of the box is you could text yourself. So if you see these thoughts that I have here, these are thoughts. These 5 that are unchecked. These are 5 thoughts I recently texted myself, actually this morning. And these are not for this video tutorial. These are actual thoughts that I wanted to send myself, You know, like I was coming up with the title of this video, and so I was like, why I stopped using Obsidian for this killer tool, or why I left Obsidian for this. And you could see it says from text. And I could demo it in front of you, but like I'll open up my phone right now, and I will just say something. Okay, so I'll just say testing this for the YouTube vid, and I'll hit enter. Okay, and boom, there you go. Right, you could already see that it's showing up. That thought that I just wrote to myself is showing up. So that's very easy because you could capture all of your thoughts pretty much from anywhere that you are. It doesn't matter where you are. Now, like let's say I'm online and I'm reading something by Mr. Beast because I love Mr. Beast. And so it's like, okay, I'm looking at like the 5 Mr. Beast quotes, right? And let's say there's a quote that I really liked. So my overarching goal in life is to make a lot of money and then before I die, give it away. And so I like this. Just hit, so there's something called MEM Spotlight. So I could actually use it from anywhere. I could just hit Command Shift enter space, and it not only opens it up, but it has it highlighted and it even has a source link in there. And I can just say save selection to a new mem, and I could just hit enter, and I could just hit Command Enter right there. And if I go back to my mem, sometimes it takes a second, but it'll always show up in here. So sometimes it'll happen where it'll take a second. I wish they improved the speed of that because to me that was like annoying, or I was like, wait, where is it? But yeah, sometimes it takes a second, but it'll still show up in here. So in terms of like capturing your thoughts, it'll always show up. So we'll give it a second and we'll see, kind of let it do its thing. But this is very helpful because oftentimes this is what will happen. So this is an actual group chat that I have. And in here, Amanath just linked me, a YouTube video, and he's like, hey, we should create a YouTube video like this. Let's copy this. I'm using a different texting app, so that's why it's having like a little bit of trouble there. But you can see I just pasted it here. Okay, I just pasted this, and now all the things are in there. So it's like I can just call it video ideas by Amanath. And I could say hashtag video ideas, hashtag YouTube, and hit enter. And let's go back to my mem. And you could see my overarching goal in life is to make a lot of money, right? And I can say Mr. Beast. Just so it's titled properly. Like I said, Mr. Beast, overarching. Boom, there we go. Okay, so we can say quotes. There we go. All right, so now that's saved, right? And then the other thing that I just saved will also be showing up in here. So that spotlight is very easy to use if you're reading an article or you really like a highlight from something. In Obsidian, you had to use like many different weird hacks or some kind of plugin that you'll have to use. Here, you don't have to do any of that. You could pull it pretty instantly from anywhere and then add your own thoughts on top of it as well. So there you go. Video ideas by Amanath. It just showed up. And so I can click it. It shows me a bunch of different video ideas in here. Okay, perfect. So let's get out of here. All right, so that's kind of like how seamlessly the notes work. And then I also like that they're just already sorted by date. So you could see your recent and your inbox. This is pretty much where I'm at most of the time. Like all the stuff that is recent to me is here. And then what I like about this is, let's say that I had one of my team members share a thought with me. It'll pop up as an inbox in here and it'll make it go to inbox 7 or inbox 8. This is actually, for me, worth having an inbox notification for, because mostly everywhere else, including on my phone, if I showed you, I'm on do not disturb everywhere. So like my phone's on, you probably can't see it, but like you see it's dark, right? So I'm on do not disturb everywhere. I don't have any notifications ever happening. And so most places I don't want notifications, but in this tool, I want notifications because it's either my thoughts or it's my team members' thoughts, and it's highly curated. And so I'm okay with having an inbox here. And because these are thoughts I'm sending to myself, so I want to make sure I go read them. And then once I'm done reading them, I just hit tick mark, or I just hit click on them and it'll mark them as read. Now, the other thing that I really like is having my upcoming meetings on the top right-hand side here. So I'll be able to see it. Like this event, I don't really care about. This is not really a meeting, so I can just hide it. But I have all these meetings coming up tomorrow. What's nice about this is I could actually just hit enter. And now I can just start writing in here whenever it's time for meeting. And you could see that it knows a month, right? And it already has the event marked and it's associated with the month. So you could see all the things that I've been talking or thinking about Amanat are here. So like if I had, his performance isn't well or his performance is really good, all that stuff will be relevant here. So right when I'm about to get on the meeting, I don't have to context switch. I know exactly what's happening, who I'm talking to, what it's going to be about. I'll give you an example. Like I actually had a meeting. Oh, this is crazy, but I want to show you this later. Okay, so this killer thing, I want to show you at the end. I promise it'll be worth the payoff. And if you just really can't wait, you can always skip to near the end of the video where I'll be talking about this part, the really killer part. Yeah. So anyway, so upcoming meetings is helpful for me because anytime I need to take notes, I could just do it there. And flows is something that allows you to extend it. So if you're on Twitter a lot, you could mem it for Twitter. And you click one thing and it'll save it to your mem. Every note you make in your mem app is called a mem. So it'll save it in here. And then you'll be able to, you look at that. And then you have text. So you could text yourself, and you have calendars. That's how I synced my calendars. Okay, so let me get out of here. And then groups is how I have that clever programmer team. And anybody that's in here, you share stuff with. So far, right, all this stuff is very helpful. Everything is here. Now, a few more things that I want to show you before I go to the killer part. I know, I'm dragging it out. It's like, Kazi, I promise it's not to clickbait you. It's to blow your fucking mind. But I just got to set it up the right way. So you just got to give me a second here. Okay, I'm almost done. I swear to God, I'm almost done here. So another thing I really like is oftentimes for tasks, I had to use Todoist or some other tool. And in Obsidian, when I tried to do tasks, there were people talking about these crazy queries and mental gymnastics to go search vault wide and then pull all your tasks and put it in one place. And I was like, this is crazy. Here's what's cool about it. If I'm writing down a note here, so let's say this is my note 1, and clean, and then I write note 2, another note, and here I write cook. So you saw these were two different notes, right? So oftentimes what happens is you start to lose track of all of your to-dos because you're writing them down in different places. Well, the cool thing here is even though they were written in note 1 and note 2, two different places, if I go to tasks, I can just see all my tasks of today, boom, in one place. And this task, if I don't care about it or don't need to do anything, I can, hide it just by hitting left. If my cooking is something that I'm done with, I could hit check mark and hit done. And if a task I just want to do later, I could actually hover over on it and I can hit right. And I could just say, hey, send me this same mem or this task this weekend. So you could do the same thing with your thoughts and ideas as well. So if you have thoughts that you've sent to yourself, so this strategy here or add custom spreadsheet, you're like, well, I kind of don't really want to do it right now. You could just remind yourself tomorrow about the same thing. And then it'll push it to tomorrow. So let's say I do this and I just said tomorrow at 3 p.m. Done. So snooze so it's gone. And then tomorrow when I come into my inbox, it'll show up at the top and I'll be like, oh, cool. Okay, let me work on that. And so this is more for not notification or reminder stuff in my mind. This is more so for if I'm working on ideas that might turn into videos later, right? Because ultimately the goal is creative output. What am I actually outputting for people? What are the thoughts that I'm sharing? That's my number one way to judge a tool. Okay. All right. Now on to the killer part. So the AI on this tool is killer. That's what makes it the best tool on the market. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, Kazi, everything has AI now, dude. Notion has AI and Craft has AI, which it does. And literally everything under the sun has an AI. I know. Just hear me out. This AI is completely different. This is revolutionary AI. So, obviously it could do simple stuff like this. If I just hit slash and I say, continue writing for me. And this is the most obvious stuff, right? It will use whatever I have here to write something for me. Boom, there we go. With its powerful AI capabilities, this tool is a must-have for anyone looking to blah, 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 blah. Okay, nobody cares. That's like easy stuff that pretty much all AI tools can do now, right? Obviously, ChatGPT could do this, and then you have Notion can do it, and a bunch of other stuff could do it. Now, here's the killer part. Watch this. I can actually say, what does Mr. B say about retention? Check this out. It says, figure out how to get to 70% retention on YouTube. That should be your only focus. Now, where the hell did it just get this from? Here's where I got it from. So let me go to Mr. B's quotes. And there we go, okay? Mr. B's quotes. Figure out how to get to 70% retention on YouTube. That should be your only focus. And now going back to our doc that we're working on, it pulled that out. So notice how I didn't even have to go there. It could actually leverage the information that's already there. I'll give you another example. Here, I told it YouTube monetization strategies for a YouTube workshop masterclass that I'm working on. And I just wrote all the strategies here, boom, like that, right? They're really key 4 strategies, like AdSense sponsorship, services, and then products. That's kind of what I said. So let's go back here and keep in mind, it's a completely different note. And now I can ask it, give me, how can I monetize YouTube? Okay, so you can ask it kind of in whichever way you want. And let me hit enter and watch what happens. Sometimes certain parts of the answers are kind of like bullshit. And when you realize that, you could just cut it out. And you're like, okay, this is not useful to me. But some of the other parts that are helpful, you can actually just keep those parts. Boom, there we go. And so it's saying YouTube monetization strategies include AdSense, sponsorship, offering services such as agency or coaching, selling products such as digital or physical goods as a YouTube. So like, let me show you, right? Let me open this up on the right-hand side, and you could see the match from here to here is really high. Yeah, there's some bullshit stuff in here, like provide discounts and incentives to keep viewers coming back. Like what? So some parts, it just kind of goes nuts. You could cut that out. I don't really need that. Like that's fluff. But all of this part, it actually got right. And obviously you could have it formatted and stuff too. So it'd be like, okay, how can I monetize YouTube? Make it a numbered list, keep it short or something, right? You could give it these prompts that essentially tell it, hey, this is how I want it. Boom, there we go. And that's pretty much it. And these are the 4 or 5 ways, right? And it turned it into 5 ways, even though I have it as 4 ways. But I merged digital physical products. It made them as 2, which is totally fine. And so these are the 4 or 5 ways. And it just listed them all out, which, I don't know, to me is pretty mind-blowing. Like, this is revolutionary shit that's never been done before. I mean, this is state-of-the-art AI. Like, we've never, as a normal user, you and I had the opportunity to take AI, artificial intelligence, and train it on our own data. This is the first time we're able to do that. And this is something even, obviously, like ChatGPT, you could do to some extent, but ChatGPT is only context aware of like a specific chat that you have going on. So if you don't have something in that specific chat, you're screwed. Here, it can search like literally infinitely wide. It reads through every single thing. So it could study and learn from and study the entire corpus of my entire knowledge base and then give me a specific answer based on that. Here's another example. What will Kazi say if I told him to stop doing YouTube? So let's see what it says. Kazi would likely say that he has worked hard to build a successful YouTube business and that he's not willing to give up on it. Okay. He would emphasize the importance of staying focused and committed to achieving his goals. Yep. There we go. So where is it pulling this information from? So let's see. Did I ever share anything on this? I think it was called something like singular focus. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So now let me open this. And I had written a note some time ago, or yesterday actually, and I had said, I'm Rafik Kazi, focus on YouTube and fuck everything else, say no to all other opportunities. And now if I go back in here, you can see that it is leveraging that. And it's saying that he would say he's not willing to give up on it, aka he would stay focused on that and not leave it and do something else. And he says the importance of staying focused, right, and committed. And so if I go to this note, you could see, say no to all other opportunities. So it's using the knowledge that I've given it. It's trained on that. You know, that is, like, to me, that's kind of nuts. Here, let me show you another one that's absolutely blown my mind. So what I did is I made a summary of this book called Profit First. Okay, Profit First. And so I went to James Clear's book summaries, and I put a bunch of his notes in here that he took. So these are, you know, notes that James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits, took. So I'm like, okay, these have to be good notes. So I put them in here as a summary, and I put that in here as well from him. And then I also put, I went into Profit First. It has the key, one of the biggest things about Profit First is like it has this table that tells you where specifically your profit margin should be based on what revenue range you're in. So for example, like right here, you know, that book tells you, okay, if you're between $250,000 to $500,000 range, or $500,000 to $1 million, your profit should be 15%, owner's pay should be 20%, tax should be this, operating expenses for the business should be 50%, etc. And so this is something I always have to refer to, and I'm always like, it's confusing, and then I got to like do the math for it, and I got to do all this crazy stuff for it. But now that I've put this book in here, it makes the book come to life. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if this book could answer questions for you, like about profit, if you had questions? So watch this, okay? Let's say I ask it, so questions. So let's say I ask it, okay, let's say, what is my current annual revenue? Give me one number, keep it short, okay? So let's see if it knows what my current annual revenue is. Yep, there we go. That is perfectly right, because I had told it before. I had told it that I have 5 or 6 clients, and this is exactly how much each client is paying me, from $5,000 to $10,000 per month. And it used that to know that that was $25,000 per month, and it knows that that's $300,000 annually. So that is absolutely perfect. Okay, now I can ask it, what are my total expenses in a month? Give me one number, keep it short. Okay. So it says my total expenses are estimated to be about $26,500. Okay. So it knows, and that's from like a different note that I had taken about my expenses. So this is from one note about my expenses, and this is from a different note about all of my current clients. And I never added up any numbers. It's also doing the math. So it's searching across all that and it's doing all the math. Now watch this. I can ask it, you know, according to Profit First, how much profit would I keep from my current yearly revenue, right? So even if this, none of this is here, like what if I, even if I remove that, so even if that's not there, it still do it, because it's searching like from everything. And so let's see what it says. Okay. I'll remove this for a second and then I can bring it back later. Okay. And now I'll hit enter. There we go. Okay. So according to Profit First, the profit on the current yearly revenue would be, so just so you have reference point. So let's see if it did it correctly. Would be 20%, which is $60,000. This is calculated by taking 20% for profit, 20% for owners. And so what's 20% of 300,000? So 300,000 and then 20% of that. So let's go, wait, that's not 300,000, 20% of that. That is $60,000. That is actually absolutely correct. And how did it do this? Let me show you that as well. So let's go profit first. Just link that book and I'll open it on the right-hand side here. And I had written out these ranges here. So I said between 250K to 500K, these are the numbers. Between 500K to 1 million, these are the numbers. To go further, what it also did is it linked that page too. So I can actually go and take a look at that page. And you can see here, it's linking to that image. It also understood that that was the image that I needed. And so I don't have to search for my image. I can just ask it questions. It can look across my entire knowledge base and using AI, genuine AI, give me the stuff that I need to know. And so now in this way, my book Profit First notes have come to life. It's not just this passive thing that's sitting there. I can reason through that. So for example, if I ask it, is it more important to grow my top line revenue for me, or should I lean out and become profitable first? So let's see what it says on this. It is important to focus on being profitable first before attempting to grow. And so how is it telling me this? Profit must be the focus and should come first before any other expenses. And so let's see. Does it say that in here? Expenses. Before you pay your expenses, take your profit first, right? So it's actually pulling that information from here and giving it to me. Growth is only half of the equation. It is important to ensure that profit is baked into the business before attempting to grow. So here, growth is only half the equation. It's an important half, but it's still only half. It is important to take profit first, figure out the things that make profit, take profit first, right? Figure out the things that make profit, and then it says dump the things that don't, right? So dump the things that don't, and to never have any debt. So I said destroy debt, never have any debt, only operate from profit. This was my note that I added to it. Only operate from profit. And so it is actually able to answer the question of what I need to be doing right now to grow my business. And it's saying, hey, before you focus on growing your top line revenue, cut and become profitable first, lean out, and then grow from here. And so I don't know, to me, that's mind blowing. I mean, that is just one of the most profound things that I've ever experienced. I mean, for me, this has real value, and I have a real incentive for storing more information. I mean, the only incentive, don't get me wrong, like Obsidian is great, but the only incentive that I have there to store more information is so I could get like nicer graphs, which there's nothing wrong with, but honestly, it's not something I use all the time. I mean, it's cool, but it's not something I'm using like all the damn time. Right, so if I actually go here, you see this whole thing. Like, yeah, it's cool when you see it all. And right now I'm animating it, so it's all going to happen, form. It's going to look cool. But for my knowledge to work like this, where it can pull from my knowledge and then tell me things, and then calculate. If I ask it to calculate my runway, it could do that because it could look across all my notes across any time. Let me show you something useful, okay? So I had this meeting with Trev earlier, and he's somebody who's potentially interested in becoming a customer and working with me. And so if I actually want to come up with notes for him in my next meeting, so let's say I have another meeting coming up, so I'll say this fake meeting. Well, what do I need? Usually whenever you have a meeting with somebody, you need your notes on the right-hand side. And so now I have my notes. If I go Trev, right? I got my notes on the right-hand side, which is actually super helpful for me. But on top of that, why do I need those relevant notes? Because I want to know what we talked about last time and what we need to talk about this time. That's usually one of the key things that you should do. So I can actually just ask it, what are the relevant points to hit in our upcoming meeting with Trev. Hit enter and watch what it'll do. Let's see what it does. In the upcoming meeting with Trev, discuss the progress of the equipment being sent to him, review the contract and associated costs, and go over the YouTube toolkit for content creators. That's perfect. The other stuff is not that useful for me. I can get rid of it. But this part here is actually hyper relevant. This is still pretty kind of relevant. Like, it'll remind me of what we talked about and stuff. But for me right now, what I need to have done, and this is completely accurate. So I could actually show you that in my action steps here for Trev, you could see that I had put these as action steps. Send him camera equipment, eCam for Trev, equipment for Trev, send him the contract, how much it will be, send him YouTube toolkit for content creators. And it has all of that stuff, my meeting with him, and I have everything there. And then as soon as the meeting is done, I hit share now, and that note is shared. Man, so there's honestly so freaking much, but that book one impressed the hell out of me. That was probably one of my most favorite ones. When it happened, I was just shocked. I was like, holy hell. Like, I can't even imagine once I have 10 books or 20 books or 50 books that I've read in there with all my highlights and all my notes, and then I ask it about hiring or profitability. I don't have to look for hashtag hiring and then look for a graph. What connects to hiring? Ooh, I could just say, I'm about to hire this person, man. Should I hire him right now or no? And it will go, based on the book Rework, you should not hire this person right now because they currently don't have this skill set. But also based on the book Profit First, you shouldn't hire right now because you're not profitable yet. So one, look for somebody with XYZ criteria as mentioned in book Rework. And two, become profitable first. And then once you've hit those two steps, then you can hire, so-and-so person. And it's like, oh my God, that is beautiful. It's all that knowledge being baked in, coming out to help you. And I think that's the truest way we learn as human beings. We ask questions. I'm not going to my mentor and being like, hashtag books, hashtag collections. I'm going, hey, what are the best books that you would recommend to me? Hey, what's the number one book on like money? And if this thing, you teach it all that stuff, you could just ask it questions and it'll bring it up to you and put it right here. And if you're trying to make a script for a video and you have like 20 different thoughts on YouTube, you could just be like, hey, oh, this is the monetization section. Just ask it, what are the monetization strategies? Boom, it fills it out for you. Oh, what are the beliefs required to succeed on YouTube? Boom, it fills it out from you. Not from random garbage online, but from your own curated, heavily curated, crystallized thoughts and data. And so to me, this is the epitome of capturing fast, synthesizing your thoughts into something that makes sense. And honestly, sense making and connection making of your thoughts and notes beyond anything I've ever seen before. I don't know any other tool that does this or even comes close to doing this. Craft, Notion, everything else has only, they can only read from one document, kind of like ChatGPT. This is the very first time we've experienced this. And to give you guys a little bit of insight into this too, OpenAI is behind MEM's team. MEM.ai, OpenAI is behind them. And OpenAI had $100 million to invest in any startups, AI startups. And they were very selective and they're not even going to choose probably more than 10. It's going to be less than 10. And their first startup that they went with was MEM.ai, and this invested about $23 million into this because they believe in this technology and what it has to offer. And so watch out for this. I think it's only going to get better. It's going to get stronger. It's going to get jacked. Now, before I end the video, I just want to share with you kind of one caveat. It's on pricing of this thing. So the pricing is the only thing that's kind of So like there is a monthly pricing. So you could do for free. You can't do any of the AI stuff, but you could do pretty much everything else I've showed you. So there's a lot that you could do with free. You could just use the free version and you'll be pretty good for a while. But what I found to be the case is I wanted to use the paid. So paid is $8 per month. And Where it kind of becomes problematic is the AI things that you have. Every query costs you 1 credit, and that's annoying. So on top of the $8 per month, if I want to use the AI queries, they cost me. So since I'm refilling my meter with this, essentially it costs me like 15 cents per AI query. So like if I wrote 6 queries, that's like $1 for me. And so I keep refilling it, I'll pay for it. But that's the only thing I kind of hate about it. It's like, seems ridiculous. Like, okay, I had 250 queries that I signed up for, and out of them, 100 were probably errors. Like 100 were either I didn't like the result, or I put something, that was just like a small thing, and I just kept refining it. And so that was kind of an annoying part for me. And then monthly subscription is coming soon, which is a good part. So I'm looking forward to if they can switch this credit thing to a monthly subscription. So we don't have to pay some crazy amounts. Like we could just pay a monthly subscription of like 10, 20 bucks a month, 30 bucks a month. And then you could just kind of use it unlimited. But just keep in mind that nothing else has this ability. Like nothing else has this ability that MEM has to grab everything from everywhere and put it in one place. Now, here's what I recommend. Okay, this is kind of like a hack around it. But if you really want to use this AI stuff, what you could do is you could combine it with a tool. So for example, like anywhere you have to aggregate a ton of information, like from different resources, do those queries here. But then when you want to do like linear stuff, like for example, say, I don't know, you were working on one document and then you started on your thoughts and you're like, okay, and you want to just keep building on it more and more. Do all that linear based thinking somewhere else in some other AI tool. So for example, Craft, I think, has like a really good AI thing. Notion has this too. And Craft is free, I believe, because I don't think I'm on a paid plan subscription. Yeah, so like literally it's free, which is crazy. I don't even know how they can afford to let me do all my queries, and it's lightning fast. It's the editor here. Quick update. Craft is not free. They got me with the 50 queries or whatever for free. So whatever I show you for the rest of the time in Craft, don't do it in Craft. Instead, do it in ChatGPT. Okay, just do it in ChatGPT. You should probably get or have a ChatGPT subscription and just do it there. I mean, you could even use it for free, but it's a little bit slower. So I just recommend having the full one. That's what I wanted to tell you. Okay, back to the video. And so once you got your like key thoughts and then you want to bring them in here and then do stuff. So like, for example, I could just do assistant, like what are my total expenses based on this, right? So it goes based on this, your total expenses are 31,561. That is absolutely perfect. That's great. Okay, you just put that there, insert, and then I can say, assume I have 500,000 in the bank. What's my runway? Ask it that, and it goes based on this. Here's how I would calculate. Boom, runway is 15.84 months, which is actually super helpful for me to know. I'm like, okay, great. And then I can go on, right? And then I could say, okay, now assume I'm making, I don't know, let's put a random number, 10K per month. And so, 10K a month. Now what is my runway? Sometimes ChatGPT does this, so you just ask it a few different times, and then it can kind of like tell you. Making 10K a month. What is my runway? If it doesn't tell me this, I'll kind of give up on it for now. Okay, so let's forget that. But now if I can ask it, give me 3 ways I can reduce my expenses. Okay. Boom. Expenses down to 10K a month. Be specific. Keep it short. Hit enter. Reduce team expenses Find a more cost-effective headquarters, because my current headquarters is, I'm paying a decent amount for. Negotiate lower commissions or explore alternative revenue streams. So that's pretty good. I can actually hit insert and then add that in. So once you have when you have linear based thinking, I highly recommend using like a tool like this where you can write and think and have a thinking companion at the same time, because I often find I need like a thinking companion, and that really helps. I used to have my assistant who would think with me, and that was pretty helpful. But ChatGPT can think for you, right? And you can ask it questions back and forth, and you could feed it something. And then here you can write infinite amount of queries, and it's fast. It's faster than ChatGPT, in my opinion. Like, like the OpenAI ChatGPT chat thing. And it's free and it's very fast. So linear thinking for AI, I would say go with this. And then to get stuff put together, go with this. And then I'm really excited for the day where they figure out their monthly subscription, because then you won't have to pay obscene amounts to get those credits. And, sometimes the AI gets it wrong, but other than that, most of the times it has honestly blown my mind, and I find it phenomenal. So I hope you try this tool out. It is fantastic. And I hope it has blown your mind as much as it did mine. Go try it, and then let me know your thoughts. I love your beautiful face. I'll see you.